I love what Telltale's doing for the adventure genre. They are single-handedly keeping the genre not merely alive, but thriving. They credit to the great Sierra and LucasArts adventure games of yesteryears, and I wish them great prosperity. Even when they venture into IPs that I personally have no interest in, I'm going to support them and buy their games because I believe they have some of the best writers in the business and will always produce quality adventure games no matter what the IP. So when I heard that their next project after Sam Max Seasons 1 and 2 and Strong Bad's sexy adventure games for hot lesbian assassins was Wallace and Gromit, I was initially disappointed because how I felt about Wallace and Gromit is akin to how a flaming homosexual feels about pussy. I just don't give a fuck. I haven't seen or heard or planned to see or felt even remotely curious about seeing any of their shows or movies or cartoons or coloring books or whatever the fuck else there is of Wallace and Gromit that can be experienced visually. But it didn't matter how I felt about Wallace and Gromit because I was sure that the game would be quality. I was sure that I could still enjoy the game, not for the story or characters or art style or humor, but most certainly for the gameplay. I was entirely wrong. Like my friend, the pro-reclusive obese boy once told me, Wallace and Gromit's humor consists of Wallace being British and Wallace liking cheese. That to me describes what Wallace and Gromit's humor is all about. It's a far cry from a sardonic tone in Sam & Max and nothing like the deprecating humor in Strong Bad. If you're looking to laugh out loud, you'll probably be disappointed. The most it'll squeeze out of you is an amused smile or aha. Where Wallace and Gromit lacks in side-splitting humor is made up for with charm, however. There's something very cute about Wallace and his wacky antics. Seeing Wallace on his homemade tele-headphone, basically a headphone with its left side detached and the telephone receiver in its place, won't make you laugh, but it gets brownie points for being amusing, and these points do add up. There's just a charming quality to the characters, the setting, and the story, a quality you find in a good Pixar movie, a childish quality that adults can enjoy. It does get tiresome at times, especially when half the jokes consist of Wallace saying or doing something foolish, with a punchline being Gromit rolling his eyes or looking exasperated. But all in all, the game has the makings of a good short film. The story is the standard problem-solution type, in which the main character encounters a problem and finds a solution, only to find that the solution creates another problem. But the story's got some meat because there are background stories to everything, in the story itself, and the characters you encounter, and the items strewn about throughout the game. It's nice just to sit back and listen to the story. Of course, some things would have to be altered in making a short film out of this, but in just looking at the story, the characters, the writing, the dialogue, there's quite a bit to work with. But there's a rub. This isn't a short film I'm reviewing, it's a game. And a strong showing in story, characters, writing, dialogue, and voice acting is useful. Very useful in fact, but they alone do not make a game, let alone make a game great. As a fellow YouTube game reviewer said, a quote that the pro-reclusive obese boy likes to mock, and I quote, "Gameplay is what I play games for." I know some people have issues with the control scheme in Wallace and Gromit. The pro-reclusive obese boy has told me that it is an abomination and desolation, the likes of which we have seen before with other companies and their games. It is mainly caused by Telltale Games wanting to move away from PC exclusivity and going into the lucrative world of consoles. Specifically, it's the moving away from mouse clicks to move characters around to using WSD keys. I was fine with using WSD keys personally. I didn't really care about the change. I thought the WSD keys actually worked pretty well and eliminated some of the accidental clicking on items that you're bound to do when you're moving your character. What I do have an issue with, however, are the puzzles. They are insanely retarded and extremely frustrating. There's an insane amount of pixel hunting and trial and error involved in solving these puzzles. Telltale has tried to address this by giving players a key or button which, when pressed, isolates and highlights all the relevant items that are in play versus items that merely serve as backdrop. But this creates an even bigger problem, and that's trial and error. Basically, by doing this, the game eliminates any need for thinking, for understanding the world in which a game is set, and the intricacies of the puzzles presented therein. Upon being told which items are in play and which are not, all that's left is trial and error. Basically, all that's left to do is select items on your inventory and try them out on all the items that are left in play. Let's say your goal is to place a bug on someone. To solve this problem, you will probably first try selecting the bug and then clicking the bug on the person. If a game doesn't let you do that, you'll have to try something else. With Sam and Max, Telltale tried to make the puzzles so that they're intuitive, that if you thought about them enough, you'd come up with a solution. Yeah, some trial and error and pixel hunting were present in the Sam and Max games as well, but they were few and far between. So for this puzzle in which you're supposed to place a bug on someone, if Sam and Max were handling it, there would be hints given throughout the game that this person has a propensity to, say, leave his wallet lying around. Perhaps you'll see him do so once or twice, and you use such moments to place a bug on his wallet. But in Wallace and Gromit, the equivalent solution is for the player to click specifically on the person's back pocket where he keeps his wallet, which will trigger him to whip out his wallet for whatever reason, and for you to click on the wallet and have your character discreetly place a bug on his wallet while the character is briefly distracted by whatever. Of course, all this will be done for you, and you'll just be watching some cutscene of your character placing the bug on the wallet. In the first scenario, the Sam and Max scenario, the player is given the chance to witness something and use that information at enough time to solve a puzzle. There's a sense of using one set of information on another set and piecing them together to create a solution that's extremely satisfying. In the second scenario, in the Wallace and Gromit scenario, it's merely a matter of clicking all over a person in whom you're supposed to place a bug, and by chance stumbling across the back pocket and finding a solution there. It feels like the adventure equivalent of fighting bosses in console shooters. Shooting it anywhere else doesn't do shit, but shooting the boss's belly button will lead to the boss giggling uncontrollably, causing its testicles to jiggle, and shooting the testicles as they're jiggling will trigger a massive erection, and sequentially shooting the tip of an erection and then the shaft of an erection 6 times will set up a massive orgasm with bucket loads of cum hitting its face, leading to temporary blindness, causing it to stumble backwards and fall over a cliff and die. That's how nonsensical and unintuitive the puzzles were in Wallace and Gromit. They didn't make logical sense, at least logic as defined by the game's world, and they were too random to discover but by chance. The culmination of the poorly designed puzzles came near the end of a game in which I was supposed to go out to the backyard. I was controlling Gromit, and Wallace was near the door leading to the backyard. The scene was laid out in such a way that Wallace was standing in front of a door, making it impossible for me to click on the door without clicking on Wallace first. I tried to find a solution to this because I thought this was a puzzle in which my objective was to get Wallace to move. At one point I got him to leave by telling him of another problem he had to take care of, but instead of going off screen, a cutscene was shown of him leaving the kitchen and returning, so I had no chance to click on the door that would have allowed me to get to the backyard. I tried all kinds of things to get to that door that Wallace seemed to be blocking. It turns out this was just a bug, and I eventually got around it by using the map through which you can navigate from inside the house to the street in front of the house to downtown. Of course, my intention wasn't to go to the street in front of the house, and the map doesn't actually provide access to the backyard, but it turns out that if you click on the portal to the street in front of the house during that puzzle, the game takes you to the backyard. So I got to the backyard through yet another bug. The poorly designed puzzles made me believe that the bug I had encountered was actually a puzzle, and caused me to waste hours just to try and resolve it. I couldn't recognize it as a bug because all the puzzles seemed like bugs until you happened to stumble across very retarded solutions. Needless to say, I was cursing at the game quite a bit. Based on my experience with Telltale's other titles, and what little I knew of Wallace and Gromit, I expected the IP to be unappealing but the game to be quality regardless. To my surprise, I found that the IP is great, but the game lacking. One good thing that came out of this was that it exposed me to Wallace and Gromit, and even got me curious about seeing the short films and movie. Perhaps the gameplay on episodes 2, 3, and 4 will match the charm of Wallace and Gromit's world, and will result in better games, but as is, this unfortunate game is littered with faulty puzzles. And it has an otherwise pleasant backdrop, but I find it hard to recommend this game despite its charm.
I wonder, Miss Flit, if you would be so kind as to, hand me that tea bag.
Tea bag, Mr. Wallace? What tea bag?
The one on your,